What if the person you loved the most was hiding a terrifying secret? What if every gentle word, every sweet smile was only a mask for a monster? This is Gio's story, a love that seemed perfect until the night he discovered the truth about Miho. In a beautiful city, a man was on a call with his girlfriend, discussing where they should meet up. But she was already standing across the street, waving at him with a smile. His girlfriend was stunning with an angelic, innocent look. Happily, she began crossing the street to meet him, but suddenly, a speeding car struck her, throwing her across the road. The man froze in shock, his eyes wide, as he saw his girlfriend lying motionless on the ground. He sprinted toward her, clutching her and shouting desperately for help. Moments later, an ambulance arrived. Paramedics quickly lifted her inside, and as they rushed to the hospital, the man prayed with everything he had for her safety. At the hospital, the doctor came out with surprising news. There was nothing to worry about. But then, the doctor asked, almost confused, "Are you sure she was hit by a car? Normally, such an accident would cause at least fractures, but her scans showed nothing, no broken bones at all." Still, the doctor explained that PTSD was common in traffic accidents, so they would keep her for observation just to be safe. He also advised the man to comfort his girlfriend, since she might still be in shock. A nurse arrived to guide him to her room. As they walked, the man nervously asked if his girlfriend was really okay. The nurse reassured him, saying it was a miracle. She didn't even have a bruise. Relieved yet unsettled, the man couldn't shake the thought of how impossible it was for her to be completely unharmed. Finally, they reached her room. When he opened the door, he saw his girlfriend sitting on the bed, staring quietly out the window. The man called softly, "Miho?" She turned, her face lighting up with a bright smile. "Gio," she said happily, "look, nothing happened. Can you believe it?" Overcome with emotion, Gio rushed to her, hugging her tightly. Tears welled in his eyes as he whispered how glad he was that she was okay. Miho began crying too, and the two embraced warmly. That night, Gio sat by her bedside in a chair, peeling an apple. Miho told him he should head home, or he'd miss the train and be late for class tomorrow. Gio playfully shoved a slice into her mouth, promising he'd leave, but also promising he'd be back to pick her up in the morning. Before he left, Miho smiled sweetly and asked, "By the way, did you see my cell phone anywhere?" Gio shook his head, assuming it had been lost in the accident. Miho said she probably dropped it at the crosswalk, then added she might just buy a new one. It would be faster. She told Gio not to worry and to go home safely. As Gio walked down the hospital hallway, he spotted the paramedic who had helped them earlier, holding Miho's phone. "Sir, you're the paramedic from before, right?" Gio asked. "I am," the man replied. "How's your friend? Is she okay?" "She is, thanks to you. She's recovering without any injuries." "I'm glad to hear that." "Oh, and doesn't this belong to her?" He held out the phone. "We picked it up at the crash site. Please return it to her." They parted ways and Gio stared down at the phone, knowing Miho would want it back immediately. He hurried back to her room, but when he opened the door, the bed was empty. The window was wide open. Through it, Gio spotted Miho outside. Smiling with relief, he rushed to find her. But when he reached the alley, his smile vanished. What he saw froze him in terror. Miho, his girlfriend, was devouring a nurse. Her body twisted, monstrous, not human at all. Gio's eyes widened in disbelief. He couldn't process what he was seeing. Suddenly, Miho shifted back into her human form. She sniffed the air, her senses sharp. "That's odd. I definitely smelled something," she muttered, unaware Gio had been watching. That night, Gio learned a truth he was never meant to know about his girlfriend. Back in his apartment, Gio sat in disbelief. He had seen it with his own eyes, Miho swallowing another human being like a monster. But no matter what he saw, part of him still refused to believe it because she was his girlfriend. Confused and desperate, Gio grabbed his phone and called his friend Seinen for advice. "Hypothetically," Gio asked nervously, "what would you do if your girlfriend was a monster?" Seinen laughed. "If my girlfriend was a monster but I was still attracted to her, I'd keep her around and try to tame her." Gio hung up unsatisfied. What was I expecting? Real advice from him? He lay back on his bed, muttering, "Tame her? That makes no sense. No, I have to end things with her." His mind raced. When did she become a monster, and why has she spared me so far? His eyes fell on Miho's phone. Maybe the answers are inside. Remembering her old password, he unlocked it. Everything seemed normal. Her photos, her messages, her search history, until he opened her notes. The moment he read them, his eyes went wide in horror. He dropped the phone, trembling. What was that?
In the morning at the hospital, Gio couldn't stop thinking about what he had seen on Miho's phone last night. But the phone was broken now, so he couldn't check it again. Suddenly, Miho arrived. She clung to Gio, asking what he was thinking about. "You said you were gonna pick me up, and you did. Miho said sweetly. I couldn't call you because I didn't have a phone. Then she gently touched Gio's face, asking if he had slept at all. Gio just smiled and said he was fine. In his mind, it was different. Yesterday, I would have been happy. Now, every word, every smile, it creeps me out. When did you become a monster? I wish this was a dream. You act normal, but knowing the truth makes it worse. I want to run. Before he could collect himself, Miho grabbed his shirt and sniffed it. What are you doing? Why are you sniffing me? Gio asked nervously. Nothing, Miho replied with a creepy smile. You smelled the same as yesterday. You skipped your shower, didn't you? They both chuckled it off. Then Gio and Miho started heading to school together. On the way, Miho said she had something to give him. She pulled him down gently and kissed his cheek. That's my payment for picking me up from the hospital, she said playfully. Gio forced a smile, then quickly said he needed to use the bathroom and told her to wait. Miho teased, I knew you were holding it in. You've been squirming all morning. Go ahead, I'll be here. Inside the men's restroom, Gio leaned over the toilet, vomiting. The kiss made him sick. His chest tightened, his stomach turned. He forced himself to breathe and calm down. Outside, Miho stood silently, waiting, almost like she was observing him. They continued walking to school. Miho frowned slightly, telling Gio he should see a doctor since he didn't look well. Gio brushed it off with a smile. In his mind, she's acting so normal, so sweet, just like before. But I can't forget. She's a monster, and it terrifies me. Miho then asked if Gio would be staying late at school. If you are, I'll bring you porridge and medicine before I head home, she said warmly. Gio thanked her, forcing another smile. When they reached the school, they prepared to part ways. Before leaving, Miho smiled and said, See you tomorrow, I love you. Gio hesitated, then replied softly, Me too. As Miho left, Seijin walked up and immediately noticed Gio's pale, terrified expression. Hey, are you okay? Seijin asked, concerned. But Gio, clearly shaken, rushed off to the bathroom. Seijin muttered, He doesn't look good at all. Is he really okay? Suddenly, Miho appeared behind him. Maybe he just has an upset stomach, she said casually. Seijin, surprised, looked at her. It turned out they had never met before. Do I know you? He asked. I'm Gio's girlfriend, Miho answered with a smile. Seijin chuckled. Ah, so you're Miho. I've heard about you. Gio wouldn't stop bragging about how beautiful you are. Miho kept smiling. So, you and Gio must be close? Yeah, Seijin said. We've known each other for 5 years. He always comes to me for advice. Miho's smile widened in a way that felt unsettling. 5 years? That's a long time. Funny, I didn't know that. Seijin frowned slightly. Strange, Gio never mentioned me to you? That's odd. He always comes to me when he has a problem. Just yesterday, in fact, he asked me what I would do if my girlfriend was a monster. Miho's expression flickered, but she quickly covered it with a lie. Oh, Gio and I had a fight yesterday. That's probably why. Then she leaned in closer. Actually, I was wondering if I could talk to you about it. Seijin hesitated. They had just met, and it felt awkward, but Miho grabbed his hand. Come on, I'll buy you a drink. How about tonight? She said. Seijin paused, then they exchanged numbers. That night, Gio was at school, exhausted. He thought back to how Miho acted all day. Sweet, caring, normal. But deep down, he knew keeping his distance was right. His eyes fell on the porridge Miho had promised to bring. If she's still Miho, maybe I can reach her. Maybe I can stop her. His phone buzzed. A text from Seijin. Paradise 504. Immediately after, another call came. It was Ireling. Gio, I'm sorry to call this late. It's about your girlfriend. I just saw her going into a motel with a guy. I don't know which room, but it was the Paradise Motel. Gio froze. Paradise Motel. Room 504. The same number Seijin texted. Panic surged through him. He ran as fast as he could, heart pounding, thinking, what if Miho does something to Seijin? Until he reached the motel. Room 504. He banged and banged on the door, shouting. No answer. In desperation, he grabbed a fire extinguisher from the hall, smashed the handle, and kicked the door open. His eyes widened. Seijin lay on the bed, blood pooling from his head. And there was Miho, casually standing, drenched in blood. Hey, she said softly. Are you feeling better now? Gio's body froze in shock. Then rage and fear took over. He grabbed the fire extinguisher and swung it at Miho's head.
Then, Gio woke up and found Miho beside him, smiling happily.
She said good morning and reminded him they needed to get ready to check out at 10. Gio smacked her hand away, terrified. He demanded to know what happened to Seijin's body, what happened after he swung the fire extinguisher. Miho only tilted her head and said he was acting strange, that she didn't know what he was talking about. She tried to approach, saying he might have a fever, but Gio shoved her back and bolted, wearing nothing but his underwear. He ran until he reached the highway. His mind raced. Why was he sleeping beside her? Why did she let him live? Was she toying with him before killing him, just like Seijin? He kept running until he heard a voice. Seijin, alive! Seijin rushed over as Gio's ankle snapped and he collapsed. Seijin helped him up, asking why he was running around half naked. Gio clutched his shirt, screaming for answers. Why was he alive? Then Miho appeared, running toward them. She wrapped a blanket over Gio's shoulders, thanking Seijin for stopping him. Seijin stared in confusion, asking what was going on. Gio couldn't answer. None of it made sense. Miho just said they needed to talk. At a coffee shop, Seijin leaned back. So, Gio, you're saying Miho killed me? You must have had a terrible dream. Do I look dead to you? Gio demanded, what about the text you sent me last night? Seijin frowned. What text? I didn't text you. Gio slammed his hand on the table, insisting Seijin was lying. He had texted Paradise 504. He pulled out his phone, scrolling frantically, but the message was gone. Seijin asked calmly, why would I go to a motel with your girlfriend? Gio refused to believe it. He remembered Ir-young's call. He checked his call history. Nothing. He pointed at them, shouting they must have deleted the records, accusing them of being together. Seijin shook his head, saying Gio was making no sense. He reminded him they had dinner last night. He even pulled out a photo of the three of them together, smiling at the table. Seijin said Gio and Miho had been drinking, and he joined later. He told him to stop talking nonsense and see a doctor. Gio stared at the photo in disbelief. He didn't remember it. He only remembered Seijin bleeding out, Miho drenched in blood. None of it matched. Miho held Gio's hand, asking softly if he was okay. Gio's mind spiraled. Am I hallucinating? The memory from last night was so vivid. The photo felt fake. Why had they never taken one together before? And if Miho really was a monster, why didn't she attack him? Why didn't she fight back? Nothing added up. He whispered to himself, am I really seeing things? Miho gripped his hand tighter. If I really killed someone, wouldn't it be in the news? But there's nothing. Don't you know better than anyone else that none of this happened? Then she broke into tears, begging him to see a doctor with her. Gio pushed back his chair, saying he needed the bathroom. His injured ankle gave way and he hit the floor. Miho reached to help, but Gio refused, saying he just needed rest. Inside the bathroom, Gio pulled out his phone and called Ir-young. He asked, you called me last night about Miho going into a motel, right? But Ir-young's answer shattered him. I didn't call you. Gio shouted, no, you did. Check your phone. But Ir-young, speaking softly from another building as she watched them, said, sorry, Gio, there's nothing on my phone. Are you sure you're not mistaken? Gio's breath caught. His hands trembled. He couldn't believe what was happening.
Then Ir-young told Gio to check his phone. He froze, muttered sorry, and quickly hung up. He stepped out of the bathroom pale and shaken, and Miho was waiting. She told him she'd called a cab and they needed to go straight to the hospital. But Gio said he was tired and would rather rest at home. Miho's eyes widened, unsettling, and she insisted he couldn't even stand properly with his sprained ankle, that staying home wouldn't help, and she was taking him whether he liked it or not. Gio, panicking, said Seijin should come too, but Miho calmly told him Seijin had already gone to class. Then she grabbed his hand and pulled him toward the cab. That's when Gio noticed Miho's phone, the same one he remembered breaking on the floor the night before. The sight made his mind spin. Was it all a hallucination? They got into the cab, unaware that Ir-young was still watching from a distance. On the ride, Gio stared blankly out the window, while Miho finally asked if she still looked like a monster to him. Gio didn't react, didn't flinch, just kept staring outside. Miho's smile faltered, her mood sinking, until Gio finally spoke, saying he didn't even know what was real anymore, that he couldn't remember drinking or sleeping beside her, and that everything felt terrifying, like something was broken inside him. Miho squeezed his hand gently and told him not to worry, that he would be fine. At the hospital, the doctor showed them the x-ray, explained the ankle injury, and said Gio's symptoms pointed to early-onset schizophrenia. Hallucinations, he added, could be treated with medication, and he wrote a prescription. Later in the lobby, Miho teased that last time it was her in the hospital, and now it was him, making Gio chuckle despite himself. She suggested they check out the place where he thought he saw her eating people, but Gio shook his head, saying he was sure now it had all been a mistake. There was no way she was a monster. Maybe he was just still shaken from her accident. Miho smiled, but the smile felt wrong. Gio told her not to worry, that he felt better now, almost like waking from a long nap, and Miho laughed about the time he ran outside half naked in a panic. He apologized, and she teased that he could make it up to her later. When they reached Gio's apartment, he thanked her for walking him home, but she waved it off, reminding him he could barely stand, then said she had to head to class, but they'd have dinner later. Before leaving, she asked for a hug. Gio held her close, whispered thanks and I love you, and Miho smiled again, soft on the surface but disturbingly satisfied underneath. Gio went inside relieved, placed the medicine on the table, and froze. There, on the desk, was Miho's broken phone. His chest tightened. He picked it up, horrified. How could the phone be here when he'd just seen her use it to call the cab? Was this another hallucination, or proof that everything he remembered was real, that Miho really was a monster? He stared at the phone, torn between the doctor's words, the photo, and the chilling memories in his mind.
Gio started drinking his medicine, convincing himself he was just tired and that was why he kept seeing things. But then his inner voice whispered, what if you were right all along? What if Miho wasn't the only monster? What if everyone was in on it? What if you were being fooled? Gio muttered to himself about the photo with Seinen, Miho, and him together, asking why, if Miho really was a monster, she hadn't killed him yet. It felt more realistic that he was losing his mind than Miho being some flesh-eating monster. But then the voice cut in again, how can you explain the phone being here? What if your girlfriend really is a monster and she's lying to you? Gio sat on the bed, talking to himself, asking what he was supposed to do, because none of it made sense. If Miho was a monster, how could he possibly understand what happened today? The voice told him he needed to find out. Look at her notes again, maybe they would tell him something. Driven by that thought, Gio stepped out of his apartment, determined to uncover the truth about Miho, about why she hadn't killed him yet, and whether she really was a monster. He thought that if he checked her notes again, he might finally find answers. Sitting in his car, his mind spun. What if he hadn't imagined anything? What if Seinen was a monster too? What if even the doctor was? His inner voice replied, he could be. If Miho is a monster, then everything you saw is true. The fact Seinen died, the fact he stood before you alive, it means either they were in it together all along or Seinen became one too. That would explain why there was no news about his death and why he showed up alive. Gio then wondered about Iryong. Was she also a monster? The voice admitted it wasn't sure. Maybe she really didn't have the call record, but if Gio was schizophrenic, Miho's phone shouldn't exist, and if Miho was a monster, then nothing could explain that group photo. Stop getting distracted, stay calm, the voice warned. Gio realized he was spiraling into panic. He forced himself to calm down. He would figure everything out once the phone was fixed. At the repair shop, the technician said the phone could work again once the LCD was replaced. Gio begged for it to be fixed immediately, but the man explained the model was outdated and he would have to order the part, which would take 3 days. Gio didn't want to wait, so he asked if the data could be extracted, but the repairman shook his head and said only a recovery center could do that. With no other choice, Gio agreed to the order, and the repairman promised to call when it arrived. At least one thing was certain, the phone was real. Stepping out of the building, he saw Iryong standing outside. She asked what he was doing there, and Gio shot back, what about you? Iryong said she was just dropping off a friend, then glanced at his ankle and asked what happened. Gio brushed it off, saying he just fell. Iryong offered to give him a lift and motioned toward her car, telling him to hop in.
Gio asked Iryong if she was sure they were going in the same direction. She replied, you're going home, right? You still live around the school. I can drop you off on the way. Then, almost forcefully, she told him to hop in. As Gio fastened his seatbelt, he thanked her for the ride. He glanced at the back seat and asked about all the stuff piled there. Iryong explained she was helping a friend who ran an online store, and that was how she got the car, all thanks to the store. Gio frowned, noticing the clothes were messy, not even packed properly. He reached back to fix them, but Iryong stopped him, saying not to touch anything, that she had her reasons for leaving them that way. Gio noted to himself that something about her had changed. The way she spoke carried a strange, unsettling edge. Iryong brushed it off, saying maybe it was because they hadn't seen each other in a year back when the three of them, Miho, Gio, and Iryong, used to hang out a lot. Then she changed the subject, asking about the phone call. You asked if I called you last night. What was that about? Gio waved it off, saying he was just confused. Iryong pressed, saying she thought something had happened because he kept calling her over and over. Suddenly, her phone rang. She tried to reach for it, but it slipped and fell. She asked Gio to grab it for her. As he leaned down, he muttered that she could just answer it without touching it. While he was bent over, Iri-young's eyes locked onto his neck, sharp and terrifying, studying him intently. Slowly, she reached toward him as if to grab him, but Gio sat back up, holding the phone, saying, "Looks like they hung up." Iri-young smiled thinly and asked him to check her call history to see if it was the same customer as yesterday. The phone wasn't locked, so Gio scrolled through the log. His eyes widened when he saw the calls from last night. But hadn't Iri-young denied calling him? Confused, he looked at her. She asked, "Did you find it?" Gio hesitated, wondering if she lied or just made a mistake. He said the caller was a different number, hiding his doubt. He was about to ask more, but suddenly the car jerked as Iri-young slammed the brakes. In the rearview mirror, Gio saw a figure covered in cloth staring at him. Their eyes met. Heart pounding, he whipped his head back, but the back seat was empty. Iri-young asked if he was okay and repeated her question about the call history. Terrified, his neck damp with sweat, he stammered it was nothing. He was certain someone had been hiding there. He glanced at Iri-young, their eyes meeting, and flinched, clenching his fists, desperate to get out. Forcing a normal tone, he asked her to drop him off right there. Iri-young frowned. "Here? Why?" "We're almost at your place. I'll drop you off. I've got time." But Gio insisted, saying he remembered something he needed to do. Iri-young locked the doors. "Where?" she asked coldly. "School, hospital, supermarket, subway station, you name it, I'll take you." Gio felt the air tighten around him, creeped out, muttering that he just wanted to take a walk. Iri-young said, "In this weather? Relax, I'll get you home." Moments later, they pulled up at Gio's apartment building. He forced an awkward smile, thanked her for the ride, and told her to drive safe. Iri-young smiled back, warm for a moment, then it slowly faded. She whispered to herself, "I don't see his head. I showed him the call history, but nothing. Maybe he's not a monster." Then, from the back seat, the hidden figure finally revealed itself. Gio rushed back to his apartment, peeking through the window to see if Iri-young had already left. He didn't see her, so he continued walking, but suddenly a car pulled up outside. A woman stepped out, gripping a metal weapon, her eyes locked on Gio's apartment building. As Gio climbed the stairs, his thoughts raced. Who was that person in the back seat? Why was Iri-young hiding him from me? None of this makes sense. Whoever he is, Iri-young is definitely keeping him from me. Gio froze mid-step. But why didn't the man in the back seat do anything? When our eyes met, he just ducked out of sight. If he meant to harm me, he should have attacked right there. Why didn't he? His mind twisted further. And why did Iri-young show me her call history? Why not stick to her lie about not calling me? It's almost like she wanted me to see it, to test how I'd react. Come to think of it, what if that night at the motel, Iri-young followed Miho and Seinen and discovered Miho was a monster? Maybe then she started to suspect me too. What if she's been trying to confirm it all along, hiding that man in the back seat, ready to attack me if I revealed myself as a monster? He shook his head. No, that's just wild speculation. Gio turned toward his door and noticed the lock was broken. Looking around, he saw that every lock in the hallway had been wrecked. A cold unease settled in his chest. What happened here? Then the woman appeared. "Long time no see, Gio. How have you been?" Gio froze, staring at her. Who is this person? Of course you wouldn't recognize my voice. I've been waiting for this moment for a long time. So long, I almost forgot to introduce myself. I'm Yirin's mother, the girl you killed. Her voice sharpened with rage. And now, I'll kill you. The woman swung her weapon at him, but Gio dodged and bolted toward his room. He reached it, slammed the door shut, and locked it, only to see a corpse lying inside. His stomach twisted. From the other side, her voice echoed coldly. It's no use. No one's going to help you. I killed all the monsters. Did you really think you'd be safe filling this whole building with them? Gio shouted back. Why are you trying to kill me? I should have killed you back then. You must have 9 lives, especially that girlfriend of yours. I can't believe she survived after I hit her with my car. Gio's eyes widened. So it was you, the hit-and-run driver. She yanked at the door, trying to break through. Gio, do you still remember that day? Why did you kill my Yirin? What did she ever do wrong? Was it because she found out you were a monster? Or did you try to turn her into one and fail? Tell me, Gio, why did you kill her? Gio cried out desperately, You're mistaken.
Why would I kill your daughter? I didn't even know her. With a surge of strength, he shoved the door open and bolted, but the woman was fast. She caught up and swung her weapon again. Gio stumbled, slipped on the stairs, and his head slammed hard against the floor.
Then Gio lost consciousness, and a flashback pulled him into his past at Hanguk High School. Gio was sitting quietly at his desk when a girl tapped his shoulder, trying to be friendly. She kept talking, but Gio didn't respond. Finally, she said, "I heard you don't talk to anyone. I guess it's true." The girl asked Gio's name, but he answered, "Sorry, just leave me alone. I'm trying to study. I'm transferring to another school soon, so I'm not making any new friends." But the girl held his hand and said, "But right now, you're here, so it wouldn't be the worst idea for us to be friends, would it?" She introduced herself. Her name was Yeren, the daughter of the very woman who now wanted Gio dead. Back to the present, Yeren's mom stepped on Gio's hand and he screamed in pain. "Thank goodness," she said. "I thought you were gone." Gio gasped and asked, "Why do you want me dead? What have I done? Who are you?" Yeren's mom sat down in front of him. "You still don't know? I was kind enough to spell it out for you. Maybe you lost count because you've killed so many?" Gio said, "You've got the wrong guy. I'm not the person you're looking for." But Yeren's mom glared at him. "Gio Che, 21 years old. You're dating Miho, who's a monster. You went to Hanguk High School." Gio insisted, "No, you've mistaken me for someone else. I never went to Hanguk High School." She leaned closer, her voice sharp. "How much longer are you going to pretend?" But Gio kept repeating that he never went there. Enraged, Yeren's mom began punching him over and over, shouting that she had been watching him for 3 years since he killed her daughter, demanding that he apologize. She punched the ground and stopped for just a moment. In that second, Gio struck back, punching, kicking, and grabbing a metal weapon. He shouted, "It wasn't me. I've never met your daughter before. I never went to that school. I dropped out in my 2nd year of high school." He swung the weapon, but Yeren's mom caught his arm and clothes, slamming him into the floor. Standing above him, she sneered, "You really don't remember? Don't tell me you've also turned into a monster. Better check your head." She yanked his hair, but Gio begged desperately, "Please, don't kill me. Somebody help me." Suddenly, a fire extinguisher came flying and struck Yeren's mom. She looked up the stairs and froze. A group of terrifying people stood there. One of them had a broken neck. Yeren's mom trembled. "No, I killed all of you already. I broke your necks. I made sure you were dead. So how are you still alive?" The group rushed at her, breaking her body and beating her to death. Yeren's mom screamed for help, but Gio stood frozen, too terrified to move, watching it all happen. When it was over, one of them turned and looked directly at Gio, then ignored him. They grabbed Yeren's mom by the leg and dragged her downstairs. Gio followed the trail of blood until it led to a room. He pushed the door open and saw Yeren's mom, already dead. Then Gio collapsed and lost consciousness again. After a couple of minutes, a crowd gathered outside Gio's apartment building, including Miho. She spotted a paramedic carrying Gio out. Shocked, Miho dropped the food she had just bought and rushed toward him, calling his name and begging him to open his eyes. At a distance, inside a car, Iryong was watching. She turned to the man beside her and said it was now his turn to trail Gio. Iryong still didn't know exactly what had happened in that building, but if her suspicions were correct, they could finally end this endless chase involving Miho once and for all. The man's task was clear: find out whether Gio was a monster or not. Inside the car, Iryong muttered to herself, "Now I know Miho's weakness." While Gio remained unconscious, he dreamed of his past at Hanguk High School. Gio had been a transfer student coming from far away. On his first day, he was instructed to introduce himself, but he only gave a small bow. The teacher told him at least to state his name. That reminded Gio of a conversation with his mother, discussing that they were moving again because his father's military unit had to relocate due to restructuring. Gio had complained. This was his second transfer in a single year, and it was ruining his school life. As a second-year student, he had made no friends since every time he moved, people distanced themselves from him. He thought the last time would be now. His mother sighed. She thought the same, but they had no choice but to move again with his father. If they bought a house and settled, his father would end up living alone far away from them. "Don't you think families should stick together?" she said. "You can always make new friends. Be patient." Gio clenched his fist, forced a smile, and said, "Dad's doing all this to support us. I shouldn't be complaining." Then he went back to his room to study. Because of this, Gio decided to not make friends anymore. Every time he did, he ended up leaving them behind, hearing them talk behind his back. So he resolved to focus only on studying. He told himself he'd make friends in college instead. When classmates tried to approach him, Gio was cold and said, "I'm warning you, don't talk to me." Later at home, his mom finally told him that they weren't moving anymore. His father would stay with his unit until his next promotion,
So don't worry, she said. No more moving around, just focus on school. Gio began sweating, realizing he was screwed now. Back at school, he felt lonely. At least before, during transfers, he'd have someone to eat lunch with for a while. Now he was truly alone, forced to wait another year and a half before college. While he was lost in thought, a ball rolled to him. He picked it up and tried to be friendly, asking the other kids if he could join. They refused. Rejected, Gio returned to his lonely routine. He buried himself in studying, but the isolation crushed him. He began crying quietly until a girl noticed. "Are you crying?" she asked. Gio jumped, embarrassed. It turned out to be Yeren. She said, "Anyway, you also requested a study hall hour, huh? I'm glad. I thought I was the only one. You're Gio, right? I know you're moving and all, but you could at least respond when I'm talking." Gio remembered her. "And you're Yeren, right?" She handed him a piece of chocolate and said, "Whenever I feel stressed while studying, I crave something sweet." Gio accepted it and whispered, "Thank you." Yeren said, "You can thank me by helping me study until you transfer to another school. I heard you're really smart." Gio blinked. "What? Who told you that?" "Everyone says you're always studying, even during recess and lunch. You even memorize flashcards during PE. They say you're hardcore." But what Yeren didn't know was that Gio wasn't really smart. He was just pretending to study because he had no friends. Studying filled the void. Yeren admitted she had tried asking other classmates to study with her, but no one agreed. Maybe they all go to private tutors. "So this chocolate is my way of bribing you. I might bother you with study questions, so we can be friends at least until you move again." Gio hesitated. "Actually, I'm not moving." Yeren's eyes widened. "What? Don't tell me you lied. I just blurted out all that nonsense because I thought you were moving soon. So why did you lie? Was it because you wanted me to stop talking to you?" Gio desperate. "No, you can keep talking to me. If you have a question, don't hesitate. We can be friends." Yeren smiled brightly. "Good, definitely." In his unconscious state, Gio whispered to himself, "Yeren. She was my only friend during those depressing school days. But why didn't I remember her until now? Yeren and I studied together. Later, she realized I wasn't as smart as she thought, but we still hung out. We even went to the movies together. But there was something else. What was it? Oh yes, Yeren. I killed her."
Then Gio found himself standing, his hands soaked in blood. He collapsed to the ground in shock, sitting there and muttering that he didn't mean to kill her. When he turned his head, he saw someone witnessing the murder, Miho. Gio snapped back to consciousness at the hospital. He slowly lifted his head and saw Miho sleeping beside him. Back at Gio's apartment building, police were investigating a multiple homicide that had occurred near Hanguk University. The killing spree had taken place around 8 p.m. the night before, resulting in 14 deaths, with one person still in critical condition. The shocking part was that the suspect was Unshay Kim, a former national judo athlete who had once competed internationally for the country. The detective switched off the television. She told Gio that he was lucky to have made it out alive. She explained what had happened. The police had been responding to a noise complaint, and when they arrived, they found the attacker and apprehended her just before she could strike Gio. They were still investigating the motive and how she had become involved in such an incident. The detective began to ask Gio a few questions, but before she could continue, Gio cut in. "What did you say? You apprehended the attacker? You mean she's alive? How? Didn't she get killed?" The detective replied yes, she was alive. Then she asked Gio if he remembered how it all started. Gio answered, "I was going home when she appeared out of nowhere. Suddenly she threw a pry bar at me, so I started running, tumbling down the stairs. Just before it hit me, a bunch of people showed up." He stopped mid-sentence. The investigator leaned in. "Are you saying there were people who helped you?" Gio said, "No, I'm sure they were dead, but they came out of nowhere. They killed her and dragged her into a room." The detective dismissed Gio's account as an unreliable statement, but Gio insisted, desperate, swearing he saw it with his own eyes. The detective calmly said, "All right, you've been through a traumatic experience. As far as we know, you're the only survivor and the killer is in custody." Gio's eyes widened in disbelief. "Really? You really have her?" Just then, the detective's subordinate entered the room carrying food. He said he had brought porridge. The detective asked if Gio had eaten yet and suggested he join them since hospital food could be awful. The subordinate explained that he got it downstairs, where they were known for their shrimp porridge. But Gio said, "Sorry, I'm actually allergic to shrimp." The detective apologized, saying she should have asked first, and then told Gio to rest. They would return later. After they left the room, the subordinate whispered, "If we want to cover this up, shouldn't we do something about him?" But the detective replied, "Leave him alone. He doesn't remember anything. Looks like he hurt his head pretty bad." A couple of minutes later, Miho entered the room, calling Gio's name. "Are the cops done questioning you? You must be hungry."
The news says it was just a random freak incident. I'm glad they caught her. She tried to feed Gio, but he stayed silent, not responding at all. Miho asked gently, "Do you want to stay at my place? Your apartment is still being investigated as a crime scene, and I don't want you living alone." Finally, Gio spoke. "You know, Miho, I'd like to be alone. I need some rest. I'm sorry." Miho paused, then nodded. "You're right. Time will take care of this." After a couple of days, Gio was discharged from the hospital. On his way home, he reached his mother's house. As he was about to open the door, it swung open, and his mom appeared. "Gio, I didn't know you were coming. What is this? What happened to your leg? Did you fall?" She looked closer at his face. Gio was crying. He hugged her tightly, and his mother asked softly, "What is it, Gio? Tell me what happened."
After that, Gio entered the house. His mother was at the sink, washing an apple. She smiled as she peeled it and said she had bought them a few days ago, reminding him he didn't eat much fruit anymore and should eat more fruits and vegetables instead of takeout. Gio muttered that he did eat plenty. His mom narrowed her eyes and asked what was going on and how he had hurt his leg. Gio was about to tell the truth, but stopped. Forcing a fake smile, he said he had fallen down the stairs. His mother scolded him, saying he was always so distracted. That was how he got hit in the head with a flower pot before, and now here he was with a broken leg. Gio apologized quietly and promised to be more careful. His mother sighed, then told him to stay for dinner, saying he needed nutritious food if he wanted to recover, and that she would grab some groceries. When she left, Gio wanted to tell her everything, that his girlfriend Miho was a monster, that he had seen her eating human flesh at the hospital, that he had almost been killed but was rescued by another monster. But he knew saying it out loud would go nowhere. He couldn't even believe it himself. His thoughts spiraled. Who is Miho, really? Is she a monster? Did those killings at the hospital really happen, or were they hallucinations? What about the detective? Did that conversation really happen? Both memories felt so vivid it was impossible to tell. He told himself he needed to calm down and think, maybe focus on his school years to make sense of it all. A flashback. Gio's room in September, just before he was supposed to transfer to Hanguk High School. His mother told him they might be moving again. Gio got angry and stormed outside to cool off, looking up at the sky and wondering if he would ever make real friends when he got to college. His memory suddenly cut off, and when he opened his eyes, he was staring at a hospital ceiling. His mother later explained he had been hit by a falling flower pot and was in a coma for 6 months. He missed an entire school year, made no friends, and lost all attachment to school life. He decided against transferring to Hanguk High and instead dropped out, studying for college by himself. One day, his mother mentioned meeting a woman downstairs. That woman's daughter had also quit high school and was preparing for college exams. She was Gio's age. His mom thought it would be nice for them to study together. Gio refused, saying he was fine being alone, but his mother insisted that he at least meet her before deciding, adding that she ranked 10th highest in the whole country on the recent test. Gio didn't care until his mom opened the door. Standing there was the girl she had mentioned, Miho. She smiled and introduced herself, saying she looked forward to studying with him. That was the first time Gio remembered meeting Miho. At first, everything was awkward, but Miho's friendliness wore him down. Slowly, Gio found himself glancing at her, wondering. She was smart, kind, so why had she dropped out of high school? What was her story? When he asked, Miho scratched her cheek and asked what he meant. Gio pressed her for an answer. She finally said she had stopped feeling like she belonged, that every kid did the same thing every day like machines, that they didn't feel human to her, and that it all felt pointless, so she left. Gio asked if she regretted it. Miho firmly said no. She hadn't had close friends, she hadn't fit in, and besides, if she hadn't dropped out of high school, she wouldn't have met him. She said she was having more fun now than she ever did in school, and didn't regret a thing. Time passed. Autumn came. They finished their last practice test together and scored well. Maybe they could even enroll in Hanguk University together. One day, Gio blurted out asking if he could hold her hand. Miho teased him, asking if that was his way of asking her out. Gio scratched his head in embarrassment, saying she always said formal confessions made her cringe. Miho admitted that was true, but added that what he just said also sounded cringy. Gio muttered for her to forget it, complaining she always teased him. Miho asked playfully if he didn't want to hear her answer. Gio thought he was already rejected, but Miho told him he was overthinking and jumping to conclusions, promising she would give her answer when the college results came out. They started holding hands anyway, and soon they started dating. When results day came, they sat side by side waiting. Their phones buzzed. They read the notifications together, then smiled. They had both been accepted into the same university. That was what Gio remembered of his school days. But then his thoughts darkened. Wait, when did I go to Hanguk High School? I clearly remember being there. I remember Yeren dying in a freak accident with Miho witnessing it. But if my first time meeting Miho was at home after high school, why had she acted like it was her first time seeing me? Something was wrong. The memories didn't add up. He told himself to calm down. Maybe he would remember more later. Just then, his mom and dad arrived. His father smiled and said it had been a while and asked what happened to his leg. Then he turned to his mom and asked what was for dinner. She answered salt-steamed king shrimp. Gio froze. Shrimp? His mom knew he was allergic. He carefully reminded her that he couldn't eat it. His mom paused for a moment, then laughed awkwardly, saying he was right and asking what she had been thinking before adding, yes, of course, he was allergic.
Then Gio's father smiled at him and asked if he wanted to take a walk together. While they were away, Gio left his phone on the table, buzzing from Miho's calls. At the same time, Young arrived and asked Miho if she was joining today. Miho looked confused and asked what she meant. Young explained that one of the upperclassmen had invited them to drink with him and his friends, and they would be arriving in 10 minutes. Miho said she would pass, but Young pressed her, teasing and nudging her with her socked foot, asking if she was in a foul mood and what was going on. Miho told her the story, but Young pretended not to know anything, acting dumb and asking if Gio was okay and whether he got hurt. Miho said she should be the one taking care of him, but Young argued that it might be better to give him some time alone. Miho insisted she should be with him, especially now, but Young said that in her opinion, Gio might need a mental break just as much as physical rest. Miho thought about it and eventually agreed, saying that knowing Gio, it was probably best to leave him alone for now. Young once again asked her to come for drinks, and Miho finally agreed, asking when they would be arriving since it was getting late. Young pretended to make a call but faked running out of battery, then asked Miho to use her phone instead. When Miho handed it to her, Young stepped outside to check. And just as she suspected, Miho had switched her phone to the same model. That explained why they couldn't track her since the accident. Young passed the phone to her underling and told them to install a tracking app. While she was scheming, the upperclassman arrived, calling her name. He asked what she was doing outside, and she casually replied she was waiting for him. The upperclassman opened the door and greeted Miho, saying hello. Young returned the phone to Miho, thanked her, and asked if they were leaving now. But Miho suddenly stood up and said she didn't think she could join them today. Young was surprised, reminding her that she had already agreed, but Miho apologized, saying maybe next time. She explained she had just remembered something important to take care of. The upperclassman then asked Young if she wanted grilled beef, but she quickly claimed she had an assignment to, and suggested another time. She rushed downstairs, suspecting Miho was heading to Gio. Yu-haek was already monitoring him, and Young thought she had done a good job convincing Miho, but Miho was too stubborn. She ordered her underlings to track Miho's location. Driving through the night, Young muttered to herself, questioning why Miho cared so much about Gio, asking if he was really that important. Important enough to pass up everything, even when he was practically being served to her on a silver platter, and wondering what the hell Gio really was to her. Meanwhile, as Gio and his father walked, his father asked how school was. Gio replied that it was the same as always. Then suddenly, his father said the doctor had told them his mom was in the early stage of Alzheimer's. They hadn't told him because they didn't want to distract him from his studies. She had been forgetful lately, so he warned Gio not to make a big deal if she forgot things like his allergy. Gio was shocked and said they should have told him, but his father shook his head, telling him just to focus on his studies and take care of himself, not to keep getting hurt. He said when the flower pot hit his head, he thought he had lost him, and now he was tumbling down the stairs again. Gio assured him that he would be careful, then asked when exactly he had lost consciousness back then. His father said it was in September, that Gio had been hit in the head and woke up in March. He pressed him, asking if he was sure and when he had transferred to Hanguk High. His father looked confused and told him he had never gone there, asking where this was coming from. He explained that Gio had been at a different school, and after the accident, he dropped out. His father grabbed his hand and insisted that tomorrow he would bring him to see a doctor. He reminded him that the last time he had been in a coma for 6 months, and who knows what kind of trauma he might still have, adding that Alzheimer's could be genetic. Gio told him to calm down,
trying to push him off, but his father shouted that he couldn't calm down. Not when his wife's dementia was getting worse and his only son was getting hurt again, not even remembering his own school. He said dementia could be inherited, and head trauma only made the risk higher. Gio tried to assure him, saying he just slipped and fell, that he didn't have dementia, maybe he forgot the school name because they moved so much, and begged him to calm down. His father sighed and told him they should head back since his mother must be waiting. On the way home, he reminded Gio again to see a doctor, and Gio agreed. Later in his room, Gio started questioning himself, wondering if he had imagined his high school memories, if they were just trauma from the accidents or maybe even dementia. He asked himself if something was really wrong with his brain, but then pushed back, telling himself the memories felt too vivid to dismiss his hallucinations. He just needed solid evidence. Miho's phone. He remembered that at the cafe, Miho had the phone. She might have replaced it with the same model, but why stick with the old one when she could have bought a new one? If he could recover her notes, he could confirm everything once and for all. Looking at a photo of him and Miho together, Gio whispered to himself, asking if he was losing his mind. Meanwhile, in the city at night, a random man was complaining that it was impossible to pick up girls, saying half the planet are women, but no one wanted him, regretting not bringing Minchelle instead of the pretty boys he hated, whining that he just wanted to get laid. Then he spotted a hot woman and muttered in jealousy, only to realize she was with Minchelle. He couldn't believe Minchelle had such a hot girl when he had nothing. He rushed over, calling Minchelle's name, pretending it was a surprise meeting, and asked who he was with. Trying to be friendly, he suggested they all hang out together. Minchelle leaned in and whispered urgently, asking if he was out of his mind and telling him to get the hell out of there. Miho laughed. She smiled and said he was adorable, told him they could all hang out, and even said they had a room already and he could come too if he brought food and drinks. She handed him her number. The random man was thrilled. He ran off to buy alcohol, jumping with excitement, thinking Minchelle must be boring, and that was why Miho had invited him, a complete stranger, thinking maybe he had a chance tonight. When he arrived and knocked, Miho opened the door and said he was fast. He replied, "I ran like hell and didn't want to keep you waiting," then asked where Minchelle was. Miho told him he just stepped out to buy something and let him inside. She sat on the bed and told him the bed was huge and comfy, asking him to sit since he must be tired. Nervously, he sat, and when she asked him his name, he replied Guangnam. Miho leaned closer, and he stammered, asking what she was doing. She whispered that she liked him and suggested they get started before Minchelle came back, telling him to close his eyes. Excitedly, he closed his eyes, leaning in for a kiss, but suddenly, Miho's head transformed into a monster and devoured his head in one bite. Blood splattered everywhere. At the same time, Gio was calling Miho's phone. She answered, her mouth still soaked in blood.
Miho asked Gio if he was feeling better, and Gio replied that he was. Then Gio said he wanted to ask her something. "What is it?" Miho asked. Gio hesitated, then said, "Before, when the attacker screamed at me, she kept yelling that I killed her daughter because she found out I was a monster." Miho frowned. "Hey, what are you saying?" Gio continued, "I asked you to leave me alone because I was terrified of you. I thought you might be a flesh-eating monster. I've been scared because I thought you were behind everything that's happened to me so far." Miho replied, "Do you really think I'm a monster?" "No," Gio said quickly. "I don't want to think that. And why would I kill someone's daughter? I don't even remember her. Besides, there's no way you're a monster. Seijin is alive. I even saw the photo. And the attacker. I thought she died, but the news said she was arrested. Monster? That makes no sense." Gio knew in his head that's how things were supposed to be. Then Miho asked softly, "Do you know why you're so confused? Please don't make this harder for me." "Gio, have you been taking your medication?" Gio said, "I wish there was something wrong with me, but everything's just too confusing." "That's nonsense," Miho snapped. "You said it yourself. So what exactly are you confused about? Do you even have conclusive proof that you're not just imagining everything?" "I do," Gio said firmly. "I have physical proof." Miho's eyes widened. "You do? You actually have physical proof?" "Yes," Gio answered. "I can't confirm exactly what it is yet, but I have something. That's why I wanted to ask you. I need you to be honest with me." "About what? Do you want to ask me if I'm a monster? And what's that going to do? Help you cure your hallucinations?" "Gio, you're so confused by ridiculous things. Even if I answered, would you even trust me? If you're not asking whether I'm a monster, then what are you asking? And what is this so-called physical proof you keep mentioning? Why do you keep repeating this nonsense?" Miho's voice hardened. "I don't mean to be harsh, but you're acting irrational. You say you have proof that I'm a monster, but what if that proof is just another hallucination? Maybe it's one of your schizophrenic episodes.
Why do you keep doing this? You're driving me nuts. Please, hear me out, Gio said. I do think I have an issue. I wish that was all it is. And maybe you're right. Maybe I imagine this physical proof. But Mio, I don't think of you as a monster. I'm just confused, frustrated, and I want a straight answer. That's all. I didn't mean to hurt you. Mio's reply, Sorry, I yelled because I was frustrated too. She sighed. So tell me, what did you want to ask? And what is this so-called physical evidence you keep talking about? Gio took a breath. Recently, I remembered something. It involves you. It's so vivid that I can't just dismiss it as a hallucination. Mio, did we ever go to Hanguk High together? Mio froze. Hanguk High? So you remembered? Gio's eyes widened in shock. Have you recovered all your memories? Well, obviously not everything. If you had, you wouldn't be asking me this. Gio pressed on. So we did go to Hanguk High together? But I thought you went to a foreign language high school. Why did you lie to me? Why didn't you tell me we were at Hanguk High together? Am I making this up? Did I really kill Yerin? If all that is true, what about Seijin? How do you explain what happened at my apartment? And one more thing, Mio. Are you really a monster? Mio's lips curled into a devilish smile. Her eyes gleamed with joy. There are so many things we need to talk about, but let's do that another time. We'll talk tomorrow. I'll come see you then. Then she hung up the phone. Mio turned toward the unconscious Guangnam, her expression bright with twisted happiness. Finally, she could put an end to the puppet show she had been playing. Gio hadn't regained all of his memories yet, but that was fine. For Mio, it was only a matter of time. Once he remembered everything, they could return to that happy time together. Just then, the doorbell rang. Someone outside, wearing a helmet, said it was a delivery. Mio assumed it was food. She covered Guangnam with a blanket before she opened the door to receive the food. As she was about to close it, the delivery man stopped her. It hasn't been paid yet, he said. Oh, right, I'll get the payment. But when she turned around, the delivery man suddenly drew a taser and pressed it to her neck. Electricity surged through her body, and Mio collapsed, unconscious, with the taser still stuck to her skin. A woman stepped inside. Perfect timing, she said. She walked over to the bed and pulled the blanket off. Guangnam's head was soaked in blood. Suddenly, his eyes twitched and he weakly looked at the woman. Mom? He whispered. The woman removed her hat and smiled. Yes, darling, nice to meet you. I'm your mother. It was Idiong. Mio, pinned to the floor and half-conscious, forced her eyes open and her pupils dilated in shock when she realized it was Idiong.
Iryong said, finally, we nailed it this time. Let's get out of here. Then she looked at Guangnam and told him to keep his mouth shut and follow her. As Iryong passed by, Miho closed her eyes, pretending to be unconscious. But once Iryong had left, Miho's eyes slowly opened. She stood up and muttered that Iryong should have checked more carefully. Miho walked to the bathroom and pushed the door open. Inside, another one was waiting, Minchol, lying in the bathtub with wide eyes staring at her. He whispered, Mom? Miho asked what his flush's name was. Minchol answered weakly, Minchol Kim. She asked if he remembered how old it was. He replied, 21. Miho's terrifying eyes narrowed, and she said, so you remember. You're settling in nicely. She asked if he had lost any memories while settling, and Minchol admitted that when he was 13, he couldn't remember anything. Good, Miho said. Then act normal. She pulled out a photo and held it up, telling him to follow the memory of his flesh. Act normal until she called for him, and if the person in that photo ever asked for help or screamed for his life, he must do everything to save him, and if he ran, he must tell her where he was. One last thing, she added, don't call me Mom, it creeps me out. It turned out that everyone Miho attacked had their memories cut off. The first person they saw afterward, they called Mom, and from then on, they followed commands like puppets, obedient, like zombies. Back to Gio. Gio couldn't believe it. He really went to Hongokai with Miho. That meant everything he thought he imagined was in fact real. What happened at the hospital with Seijin and at the apartment, it was all real, which left him with a painful truth. He really had killed Yerin. He was a murderer. He sank into a dilemma, wondering if he should just wait for his memories to come back on their own or go meet Miho. But what if Miho came to his house? What if he ended up like those people in the hospital or like Seijin? He remembered the happy, kind memories he had of Miho and told himself if Miho really wanted to hurt him, she would have done it a long time ago. For the past 2 years, she had not harmed him at all. In fact, she had only shown care. Still, why did she lie all the time? And why was she suddenly telling him pieces of the truth now? What did Miho really want? Who was she? The next morning, Gio made up his mind. He would meet Miho.
He knew she would eventually visit his house. After all, she knew where he lived. And he could feel it in his gut that Miho wanted something from his forgotten memories. He didn't know what it was yet, but he was certain of one thing: Miho would not hurt him. Still, to be safe, he carried a weapon with him. Then Miho appeared, calling his name brightly. She approached him with a smile and asked if he had been waiting long, apologizing for being late because she had to run errands until morning. She studied his face and asked how he was feeling. Gio replied that he was good. Miho gently grabbed his hand and told him to come eat first, then they could talk about last night's call. But Gio pulled back slightly and told him no, they needed to talk first. Miho paused, then smiled creepily and agreed, saying he was right, but they should find somewhere quiet.
Inside a small room where they could read, eat, and talk, Miho asked, "Are you going to read anything?" But Gio said, "I thought we were here to talk." "We will talk," Miho replied. "Then why are we in a comic book store?" Miho leaned back while eating. "Where else did you want to do this? At a crowded cafe? Or maybe while taking a walk? Or would you prefer a motel?" She smirked. "It's lunch hour anyway. At least we should eat something first. This is going to take a while and I'd rather sit down. Besides, with your bad ankle, do you really want to wander around? And we're about to discuss something unusual. I don't want people overhearing. Here, we can eat and talk about all the weird things we want, and people will just assume we're talking about comic books. And honestly," she paused, eyeing Gio carefully, "I figured you wouldn't want to be alone with me." Gio said, "What do you mean by that?" "You know," Miho said while she approached Gio, "would you really want to be alone with someone who might be a monster? Imagine if I'd taken you to a dark, dingy alley. How would you feel?" "See? You're cringing already. We wouldn't be having a serious conversation." Just then, a worker from the comic store walked over and said, "No public displays of affection allowed." Miho casually waved her hand, brushing the worker off. Gio leaned backward. "Did you just say someone might be a monster? Does this mean—" Before he could finish, Miho cut in. "Yes, I am. I am a monster." She looked at him steadily. "Yes, I know I suggested we talk in person, but honestly, I didn't expect you to show up. Why would you meet with a monster when we could have just talked on the phone? I was prepared to visit you myself, but I can see now there was no need to worry." Gio's voice hardened. "Then why did you lie to me? About being a monster?" Miho tilted her head, then smiled playfully. "Let's see. Imagine me saying, 'Hi, you don't remember me, but we used to be really close. Oh, and by the way, I'm a monster. You've lost your memory, but don't worry. I'll help you get it all back.'" She dropped a smile. "Boy, that sounds convincing, doesn't it?" Her tone grew sharper. "Even if I'd gotten you to believe me, even if I promised to help you, I thought you might run away. And honestly, that would have been completely normal. That's exactly what happened back in high school. God, Gio, you gave me such a headache." Gio swallowed. "So you're saying you were afraid I'd run away? That's why you didn't tell me?" But then, who killed the nurse at the hospital? Who threatened the Sejin? And those people at my apartment? "That was all me," Miho admitted calmly. "I cleaned up the mess." "Then why are you coming forward now? You've been hiding it all this time. Why tell me now?" Miho closed the book. "Tell me, Gio, how much do you remember? Do you remember me killing several people at once? Or do you remember killing Yaren and me cleaning up after you? Do you remember how you also turned into a monster? I know you have a lot of questions like what my motives are and why I'm sharing all this now after keeping it hidden, but before I explain anything, I just need to know how much you remember about high school. So tell me, Gio, how much do you remember about high school?" Gio's voice cracked. "What do you mean I'm a monster?" Mino sighed. "Gosh, Gio, I already told you I'm a monster, and I explained why I lied. I admitted to everything I did to those people. Don't act like I'm lying now. I promised I'd tell you everything, but first I need to know how much you remember about high school." She watched him carefully. Gio's begun sweating. "All I remember is Yaren. She was really nice to me when I first transferred to Hongakai. Then I remember seeing her die, and you were there witnessing it." Miho stared at him. "What? That's it? That's the only thing you remember about me?" Gio's voice hardened. "Now it's your turn. Why did you lie to me?" Miho groaned, covering her face with her hands. "I already told you I was afraid you'd run away. Then is there a reason I shouldn't run away? What do you want from me? Why are you doing this to me?" "Because you asked me to. You asked me to turn everyone into a monster, so I did. But things got out of control. I had to fix all the messes and protect you at the same time. I'm doing this for you." Her stare burned into him. "If you hadn't lost your memories, things wouldn't have been so difficult." Gio's breath caught. I asked you to do this? Don't you remember? You almost died at your apartment.
Do you really think that was the only time your life was in danger? What about high school? You never actually went to Hongokai. You were in a coma after the flower pot incident. So how is it that you remember going there? The story about the flower pot was a lie. You lost your memory because you almost died came up with the flower pot story. Gio's eyes widened. I lost my memory because I almost died? You created the incident at my apartment? If you did all this, then what about my parents? How did you keep it from them? Gio, Miho tone softened. I want you to recover your memories more than anyone. That way I can finally put an end to this role-playing with this shell of you. I'll tell you everything about what happened before we met and how you almost died. Just promise you'll hear me out. Don't run away. A storm of thoughts ran through Gio's mind. I almost died. Role-playing? What is she talking about? What about me being a monster? You'll tell me everything? Yes, Miho whispered, though I can't promise you'll believe me, but I hope my story will help you recover your memories. With a scared face, Gio said, I promise, so tell me. Pulling back the curtain, then please remember your promise.
A flashback, Gio was standing in the hallway looking at his phone. Yurin's friends noticed him and quickly went to Yurin, saying her maid was waiting outside. Yurin glanced over. Oh my gosh, you're right. What's that? Is he holding chocolate milk? Her friends giggled. Gio's so in love with you? One of them asked, how did this even happen? We thought Gio was supposed to be a jerk. Yurin sighed. I was nice to him once, and now he's being all clingy. I wish he'd find another friend. Her friends whispered among themselves. Gio has no other friends. He's a loner. But still, he looks good. Why does he not have any friends? Another said, I heard he acted like a total ass on the first day. That's why. And another one frowned. A clingy bad boy with good looks? That's a new chic. Yurin said, that's ridiculous. Anyway, I'm going outside to entertain him for a bit. She stepped out and the atmosphere shifted. What took you so long? Gio asked. You're the one who told me to come. Sorry, Yurin replied. Gio handed her the chocolate milk she'd asked for. Thanks, she said. I'll get going now, Gio told her, but Yurin stopped him. Stay for a while. The morning assembly's about to begin, Gio said. Do you have something to say to me? Yurin glanced at her friends, worried she might look embarrassed. Do you want to study together after school? At a cafe? Inside the classroom, Yurin's two friends were already talking behind her back. She looks desperate, one mocked, then imitating Yurin's earlier words in a mocking tone. I was nice to him just once, and now he's being all clingy. They laughed. She's only doing that because she's jealous of you. Mi-jung, the girl in the black jacket, she copies everything you do. Mi-jung smirked. All Yurin knows is how to copy. She's jealous of me, sure, but give her some credit. At least she puts on a good show. Still, it's getting annoying. I'm sick of playing along. The two of them leaned in closer, whispering, plotting to embarrass Yurin even more. When Yurin came back into the classroom, one of her friends rushed over. Yurin, Mi-jung wants Gio for herself. Mi-jung looked straight at Yurin. Are you into Gio? Yurin hesitated. I'm not sure. Why not? He's cute, Mi-jung teased. Yurin frowned. He's not that cute. Mi-jung said, then help me ask him out. I like him. Yurin was shocked. What? I thought you had a boyfriend. I'm dumping him, Mi-jung said flatly. I'm more into Gio now, and you don't even like him. The other friend interjected. But how can you ask him out? He only has eyes for Yurin. Yurin muttered. She's right. He's only nice to me. I could talk to him, but I don't know if he's interested in you. Mi-jung scoffed. That's bullshit. If he can like you, why can't he like me? She brushed past Yurin, then smirked. Relax, I'm kidding. Her friends laughed. There she goes again. You know how she is. She's jealous of you because you're close with Gio. She and her boyfriend even fought because he found out she was flirting with Gio. Yurin smirked. I always knew she was jealous of me, but this time she crossed the line. One friend whispered, it's getting annoying. Mi-jung always talks down on us. What if we just cut her off completely? But before we do that, let's make a plan. She leaned in closer, whispering to Yurin, deceiving her without her knowing. Meanwhile, on the other side, Gio was starting to get annoyed. Yurin was making him her errand boy. But for Gio, it was still better than sitting alone in the classroom. Besides, she paid him good money. Still, he wished he had another friend. The teacher finally arrived. Class, we have a new transfer student today. It was Miho. The teacher smiled. Please introduce yourself. But Miho didn't respond. Instead, she spotted an empty seat next to Gio and walked straight toward it. She stared at him intensely. Gio tried to introduce himself, but she ignored him completely, sat down, and tried to sleep. Gio thought to himself, what's wrong with her?
I know I'm lonely, but am I really that desperate to be friends with her? I'd rather be alone. Still, Gio thought maybe he should try talking to her again, because maybe Miho's going through something like he did in the past. He tried to approach her and ask for her name, but Miho just looked at him with her eyes wide open. Gio wondered if she even heard him. He introduced himself again and asked for her name, but Miho didn't respond at all. For a moment, he thought maybe she had a hearing problem, but no, the teacher would have mentioned it earlier. So why was she just staring at him like that? That's rude. Then another teacher came in, and Miho finally raised her head. Gio thought to himself, what the hell? Forget it. I wouldn't want to be friends with her either. She's so rude. But then he remembered how he acted like a jerk on the first day, ignoring the other kids when they tried talking to him, like they didn't even exist. That was probably the same reason why his classmates didn't want him around either. Later, at a cafe, Gio and Yeren were supposed to study together, but Yeren was just playing on her phone. Gio asked, aren't you going to study? You said that 30 minutes ago. Instead, Yeren shoved her phone toward him, saying, look at this, it's hilarious. Gio didn't respond. Didn't you hear me? Yeren asked. But Gio said flatly, can't you see I'm studying? Yeren rolled her eyes and said, you talk like you're smart, but I know you're mediocre just like me. Then let's talk about something else, like your ideal type or a crush. Ideal type? Gio frowned. I don't even know. Why are you asking? Yeren smiled knowingly, remembering the conversation she'd had earlier in the bathroom with her friends. Her friend had said Mijung deserved payback for always looking down on them. She reminded Yeren about the time she copied Mijung's hairstyle, how Mijung got mad because Yeren wore it better. Then the friend asked if Yeren knew why Mijung was flirting with Gio. Because she likes him, Yeren had said. But her friend continued, that's not the only reason. Sure, she likes Gio, but it's more about you. Not many people know this, but Mijung only got her boyfriend because she stole him from someone else. She always goes after the guys her friends are interested in, especially if she thinks they're better than her. She pretends she's above everyone. She's jealous of you. Of course she'll try to steal Gio too. She's done it plenty of times. Yeren had scoffed. She's pathetic. I thought she just liked cute guys like Gio. Her friend grabbed her arm and said, then why don't you make the first move? Go out with Gio. That way we can turn the tables on Mijung, expose her as a boyfriend snatcher, and ruin her reputation. Just imagine, when she thinks she has Gio, she'll ask him out, but he'll reject her because he's with you. We'll live stream the rejection. It'll be fun. Don't you think? Yeren hesitated. That'll only work if Gio's even remotely interested in me. But her friend boosted her confidence. Of course he is. You're gorgeous. That's why Mijung's so jealous. Give yourself some credit. And if it doesn't work, we can just pretend nothing happened and start hanging out with Mijung again. The friend grinned. Don't worry, I'll help. I'll spread rumors about her. Gather people on our side. You just focus on getting close to Gio. Back to the present, Gio asked Yeren, why are you asking about my dream girl? Because it's fun to talk about dating stories. Aren't you curious? Yeren teased. I wouldn't know, Gio muttered. When you fall for someone, it just happens. What kind of answer do you even expect? Well, Yeren said, let me give you an example. Do you prefer girls with bangs or glasses? And what about personality? Do you like someone who tries hard even though she's not particularly talented? She leaned in and said, as for me, I like a level-headed guy. Someone who acts grumpy when I whine but still hangs out with me. Someone who doesn't get mad when I drink his coffee, like this. She smirked. So I told you mine, now you tell me yours. Gio suddenly realized she was describing him. Was this her way of saying she had a crush on me? But deep down, he knew there was no spark between them. Maybe he just misunderstood. No way Yeren actually liked me. So he decided to make something up and get back to studying. I like girls with long hair, Gio said slowly. Someone nice, popular, someone with good fashion sense, like wearing lenses instead of glasses. Yeren smirked. I don't wear lenses. I've got perfect vision. In Gio's head, so what? Whoa, does she think I'm talking about her? Does this mean she's actually into me? Is she asking me to say I like her? She's definitely nudging me. But she's just a friend. If I say no, does that mean I'm really alone? Weren't you going to say something? Yeren pressed. All those things you just said about your dream girl, that's me, isn't it? Later, on his way home, Gio replayed that moment in his head. He was shocked by what he'd said earlier, but he told Yeren the truth. Sorry, I never thought of you as more than a friend, and I wanted to keep it that way. As he pressed the elevator button, he wondered if he'd done something to mislead her. He was grateful Yeren had talked to him before, but he couldn't date someone he didn't even like. He wasn't even sure she was a good friend. Their conversations didn't flow, they had nothing in common. Hanging out with her was more of a distraction than anything, and he didn't want a distraction from his studies. Starting today, he thought, he should just start over. The elevator doors began to close, when suddenly, someone grabbed them. It was Miho. He recognized her instantly. Did she move into his building? He wondered why she didn't press any button yet.
Inside the elevator, the atmosphere was tense. Gio wondered if Miho had just moved in, but he hadn't heard anything about new neighbors. Still, he thought to himself, forget it, why would I even talk to her if she's just gonna give me the cold shoulder again? They both got out of the elevator without saying a word. Gio told himself there was no use trying to be nice to her anymore. When Gio stepped inside his house, he asked his mother if someone had moved in next door. His mother said yes, and added that it would be better for him to go say hello since they would be neighbors for a while. She even said she was going to make rice cakes tomorrow so Gio could bring some over and introduce himself. But Gio didn't want to. He thought it would be annoying. Meanwhile, at a bus stop, Yeren sat troubled, thinking about how she'd just been rejected by Gio. She kept asking herself, why did he reject me? Am I not enough for him? All the dream girl stuff he talked about, it was me. But what if he wasn't even talking about me? She couldn't believe she'd been rejected by someone like Gio, a loner. It was humiliating. Just then, her phone rang. It was her friend. When Yeren answered, she said bitterly, "You told me I was a catch. How could this happen?" But before her friend could respond, Mi Jiyoung's voice cut in. "Hey, I heard you asked him out." Surprised, Yeren asked if she was with Hyunju, but Mi Jiyoung said no. "How do you even know this?" "She told me." "How could you— Yeren, I asked you to set me up with him. You couldn't let me have him, could you?" Then Hyunju jumped in, pretending, "It's not like Yeren went out of her way. Gio wanted to talk to her. Isn't that right, Yeren?" Cut off guard, Yeren quickly agreed. Of course, Gio wanted to see me out of the blue." Hyunju pressed further, "So what did he say? He asked you out, right? He was this close to asking you out, so did you say yes?" Yeren froze. Before she could answer, Mi Jiyoung muttered, "He asked her out? Please, she's bluffing. You two aren't a thing. Everyone can see that. Why would you pretend? That's psychotic. You were bragging just for attention? Did you think I wouldn't know?" Feeling cornered, Yeren lashed out with a lie. "You don't understand. He totally asked me out. And we're going out." For a moment, Mi Jiyoung and Hyunju were silent. Then they burst into laughter. Hyunju teased, "See, he's totally into you. I told you it would work out." Then she whispered that Mi Jiyoung was acting strange and probably jealous, and that Yeren should have seen her face. She looked pathetic. But soon after, Hyunju said she had to hang up to comfort Mi Jiyoung. Yeren sat frozen. Panic hit her. She just lied, and now she had no idea how to fix it. That night, Mi Jiyoung and Hyunju were chatting behind her back, mocking her and calling her a loser for lying about dating Gio. Suddenly, Yeren called Hyunju. The moment she picked up, Yeren yelled through the phone, "How could you tell Mi Jiyoung that?" But Hyunju shot back, "What's wrong with it? I just watched Mi Jiyoung get jealous of you. Aren't you happy?" Yeren shouted, "Of course I'm mad." Hyunju got defensive. "I thought we were in this together, to mess with Mi Jiyoung. That's what we did. So what's the problem?" Yeren snapped, "You don't understand. Mi Jiyoung is pathetic. She'd even go after a guy who already has a girlfriend. She's a complete moron." Hyunju offed it off and said Yeren had nothing to worry about, that Mi Jiyoung was insanely jealous of her anyway. She revealed that she'd already told other kids about their plan to expose Mi Jiyoung, and that everyone agreed. Yeren was shocked that Hyunju had spread it without asking first. But Hyunju just said, "Relax. As long as you didn't lie, you're fine." Then she hung up. Yeren slammed her fist on the table, furious. Her mother came in asking what was wrong, but Yeren snapped, "Get out," and slammed the door. She was screwed now. She had no idea how to fix this mess. But then she remembered Mi Jiyoung's words and grew even angrier. At that moment, Yeren realized she had no choice but to go along with the plan. She didn't really need to date Gio, she just needed him to play along when confronting Mi Jiyoung. He was a loner. No one else really talked to him, and he always ran errands for her without complaining. She figured if she kept being nice, he would do her a favor. The next morning, Yeren approached Gio. "Dude, why did you just walk away yesterday? You know I was kidding, right? I promise I won't distract you. Let's study together." But Gio replied, "Yeren, you said you'd get your act together and study, but I never see you actually study. You're always bored, always bothering me to hang out. I don't understand why you have to study with me." Yeren laughed it off. "Why so serious? Is this about yesterday? I told you it was a joke." But Gio said, "I just find it awkward, Yeren. You're always interrupting my studies." Suddenly, Miho appeared. She looked straight at Yeren and said, "Hey, get up." Yeren shot back, "I'm Gio's friend. I'll get up when I'm done talking to him." Miho didn't budge. "I don't care if he's your friend. You're sitting in my seat. Get up." Just then, the teacher arrived, leaving Yeren no choice but to stand up and move. Miho sat down and turned to Gio. "I don't care if he's your friend. Just don't let her sit in my seat again. It pisses me off." Gio sweat, stunned. Later at home, Gio's mom left a plate of rice cakes, telling him to deliver next door to Miho's family. Gio was tempted to throw them away, but he remembered his mom's request, so he had no choice. He rang the doorbell. Miho opened the door. Gio handed the plate over.
My mom made rice cakes. She told me to give these to you. Miho looked at the rice cakes, then back at Gio. I also have rice cakes for you. Come inside and get them. Gio blinked. What? Miho repeated more sharply, I said come inside and get them. Gio said, you could just bring them out yourself. Why should I go in? But before he could finish, Miho suddenly grabbed his hand and pulled him inside. Gio stumbled and fell to the floor. He snapped, hey, what do you think you're doing? But when he looked up at Miho, her face had changed, twisted into a monstrous form, ready to devour him.
Inside the dark house, Gio was lying unconscious. Then his eyes slowly opened, his head soaked in blood as he struggled to catch his breath. Miho appeared. You're up, she said calmly, then continued walking. You still have your memories from that body of yours, right? I'll let you handle your missing memories. Go on, use your original memories, act normal. Oh, one more thing. Don't ever talk to me again. You disgust me, and it pisses me off, okay? I'm done talking now. Get the hell out of here. But before Miho could finish, Gio weakly spoke. What just happened? Gio looked at his hands. They were soaked in blood. Behind him, Miho stood, ready to attack again. So, that wasn't a hallucination? It was real? Gio muttered. Then Miho attacked him once more. After a couple of minutes, Miho paused, frowning. The parasite had definitely gone in, but something was strange. Defective. Who knew they could come out defective? She muttered, stepping on the twitching parasite. Gio slowly regained consciousness again. Miho was sitting, waiting. Awake, huh? You take care of your missing memories. Before she could finish again, Gio crawled toward the door. Monster, he whispered. Miho froze in shock, but when Gio tried to call for help, she quickly covered his mouth and attacked again. For the third time, Gio woke up. Miho was staring at him. As he opened his mouth to call for help again, she covered it once more. This time, Miho closed in. Oh, I get it. It wasn't effective. You're unique. Back to the present. Gio was in shock as Miho told him he was a monster too. You mean I'm a monster now? Gio asked. Miho smirked. That's right. You panicked and started avoiding me. Gio froze in disbelief, but Miho stepped closer, grabbing his hand. I know it's confusing, but don't worry. You're special. Not like the other mindless monsters who do whatever they're told, and not like the lowly humans full of hate. You and I, we're one of a kind. We get each other. We're partners. Let's end this fake boyfriend and girlfriend act. We used to love each other. Really love. We talked about our future together. We can go back to that. Gio shook his head. Love? Future? What are you talking about? Miho's eyes glowed with intensity. You asked me to make everyone into monsters except for us, so we could create a utopia, just the two of us, together, forever. Gio shoved her away. Suddenly, he coughed violently and vomited. That's when Gio remembered the notes in Miho's phone. He'd seen a list of people she turned into puppet monsters, and one of them was his friend. The realization hit him. The reason none of the accidents were ever reported on the news was because Miho hadn't killed them. She had turned them into monsters. Seijin, you turned him into a monster? His voice trembled. What about my family? Did you turn them too? Miho looked at him coldly. You told me to create a world for just the two of us. Enraged, Gio grabbed the hammer and swung it at her. Miho blocked it with her arm. Listen, Gio, she said, I didn't mean to turn everyone into monsters. It was you who asked me to create this world for just the two of us. I don't understand why you're so upset. I did exactly what you wanted. Gio pinned her down, his hands tightening around her throat. Shut up. There's no way I said those words. Stop lying and tell me the truth. Why are you doing this to me? Miho gasped, but managed to answer, Because I love you, of course. I love you, that's all there is to it. When you forgot about us, I panicked. I wasn't sure. I wasn't sure if you'd believe me if I told you about us. I wasn't sure if you could handle the truth. After all, you didn't remember anything. I was scared. What if you never recovered your memories? But now you're starting to remember, and I'm so happy to see you trying to get them back. Just then the curtain opened. A comic shop worker saw them. What are you doing?
Miho snapped, "Shut up and leave us alone." The worker shouted back, "You can't do that. Get your hands off her now." Miho's eyes widened. "You're not a monster yet, are you?" Her hand turned into a monster, striking at his head. But the other people nearby just stood frozen, as if nothing had happened. Miho let go of the worker. "I thought I'd taken care of this area already. I'd better double check." Then she turned to Gio, smiling. "So, what do you think, Gio? Does any of this seem familiar to you?"